In relationships, some people just can't catch a break.
I met a girl, she was murdered.
Weeknights starting at 11 on Pittsburgh's Fox 53.
Breaking right now, as the sun sets, the Steel City is shut down.
There will be a curfew.
This peaceful protest disrupted by violence and looting.
Pittsburghers have always stood up, calling for social justice, calling for peace, and doing so in a way that brought us together instead of ripped us apart.
It's just a damn shame.
Police cars set on fire as bystanders, officers, and journalists were attacked.
White males, dressed in the anarchist Antifa, and they're the ones who are fueling a lot of this. Somebody died who shouldn't have died, and they hijacked that message.
And tonight, this message from city officials.
We're going to come after you.
Now, Channel 11 News on Fox 53 at 10 starts with breaking news.
Chopper 11 is live over downtown, showing us the damage left behind tonight. What began as peaceful protest over the death of George Floyd in police custody in Minnesota took a turn when police say white men they describe as anarchists started the violence. A curfew is now in effect for the city of Pittsburgh until 6 a.m. The Port Authority has also stopped all bus and T service for the night. Officials are taking action to make sure people who cause this violence will be arrested. And in the last 30 minutes or so, the city tweeted pockets of rioters remain downtown. Channel 11's Rick Earle has been following the protest all day and joins us live on the breaking news desk. Rick, city officials are angry, to say the least.
Very angry indeed. The mayor and police chief both very upset about what happened this afternoon, saying that a few protesters hijacked a movement. Now, police cars set on fire, businesses vandalized, and protesters and police officers injured. All of that prompted the mayor tonight to implement a citywide curfew and call in more police.
I'm just so angry at the fact that some segment hijacked this and then took some of the youth and brought them into the mix.
An angry Pittsburgh police chief lashing out tonight at protesters who turned violent and set fire to police cars, assaulted journalists and other protesters, and looted businesses.
They're not listening. They're charging our officers. They're looting stores. They're breaking out windows. They're throwing things at our officers.
The mayor implemented a curfew at 8:30 and called in more law enforcement agencies.
Pittsburghers have always stood up, calling for social justice, calling for peace, and doing so in a way that brought us together instead of ripped us apart.
The mayor and police chief both visibly upset that a peaceful protest for more than 2 hours turned violent so fast. And tonight they're blaming it on outsiders.
I'm willing to bet my check that there's a lot of people who are anarchists who they're not here to protest what happened. They're here to take advantage of a situation and try to throw it their way and bring other people into the mix and cause damage, cause injury with that. So there's no doubt that that's who's doing it. And a lot of the things that we're seeing are white males, dressed in the anarchist Antifa.
Now, the chief also said some arrests have already been made, and he will now be reviewing surveillance footage to identify the suspects responsible for today's violence. He says they will be held accountable. Now, the public safety director said more than a dozen businesses in the central business district have so far been vandalized. Reporting live at the breaking news desk tonight, Rick Earle for Channel 11 News on Fox 53.
Rick, thank you. Our coverage continues now with Channel 11's Amy Hudak live in Chopper 11, giving us a look at the damage caused downtown.
Well, Ryan, Chopper 11 right now is right above PPG Place, and you can see this massive police presence. We were following some of the cars. It seems as though they just got a call to get to this specific location. We actually watched them drive through the city, rush through the city to get here. We do not know what is currently happening in this area, but you can see it's a very large presence. A lot of the cruiser car doors are now open. I can see at least 3 cars with now 4 cars cars, 5 cars. It looks like their doors are open and perhaps they are getting out or they are getting ready for something. We've seen a lot of activity throughout the day centered right around this area, specifically PPG Place and Market Square. This is where we've seen a lot of rioting and looting. The SWAT team was set up outside of Permane Brothers in Market Square just a couple of hours ago. And there were also officers, mounted officers on horses in this area. We saw several, I would say probably dozens of people running from this scene once police got there. But this has been a very tense day for so many people. Law enforcement still out in full force tonight. We have seen them lined up. There's also a very heavy police presence right now on the Andy Warhol Bridge. They are blocking that area of the bridge, and it looks like a lot of officers in riot gear ready in that location. We will stay on this, and we will let you know what is happening around the city when we come back to you in just a little bit. For now, back to you, Ryan.
Amy, thank you. And as we've mentioned, the protest was peaceful for hours before cars were burned and the SWAT team called in. Channel 11 Shelley Bortz joins us live tonight after hearing from protesters. And Shelley, what do they have to say?
Well, Ryan, as you mentioned, it started as an emotional and peaceful protest. Thousands gathered downtown, marching through the streets to condemn the killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis. Protesters held signs and could be heard shouting, "I can't breathe," as they marched through the city streets, pleading for justice in the killing of George Floyd.
Millions of Americans have seen that video, and they're like, if I was only there, what would I do? Sick.
In that video that has the nation's attention, George Floyd could be heard saying, "Please, please, please, I can't breathe," as police officers pinned him to the ground and put his knee on his neck for about 8 minutes.
The officer, we watched him engage in a tactic that they are not trained to use to restrain somebody who, by the way, was already restrained.
The pain of George Floyd's death at the hands of Minneapolis police has resonated in major cities across the country. Today, it was felt in our city.
This is state-sanctioned murder, just like the lynchings were state-sanctioned. And that's not happening today. But the fact is, cops are doing this, and they're getting away with it.
The protest began peacefully at Liberty and 6th Avenues around 2 o'clock and marched to the city-county building. Pittsburgh police respected the protesters and maintained their safety. It wasn't until 3 hours later that tensions escalated.
There's clearly a call that it's time for us to look at this as a community issue, that we're in this together and we have to rehumanize humanity.
Public safety officials are asking everyone to avoid the downtown area. Reporting live tonight, Shelley Bortz, Channel 11 News on Fox 53.
Shelley, thank you. The reasons for the protest are sad, and looking at this destruction will make you sad. As we've said all day, as I've said, I live here. I'm in this area of Liberty and Penn, jogging and eating and bike riding with everybody else. The CVS that was looted is where I shop, and the employees who work there are really nice people. Most of the businesses downtown had just slowly started to reopen after the COVID-19 shutdown, and now it looks like they could be closed even longer now. And in the suburb of Sewickley, a small group of protesters surrounded a police car. They blocked traffic and held signs, all in the name of George Floyd. The Pittsburgh Black Elected Officials Coalition sent a statement supporting those calling for change tonight. It reads in part, quote, "We recognize that this is an institutional challenge that is historic and deeply rooted. There must be focused and renewed attention to disrupt and permanently change these senseless and traumatic attacks of law-abiding citizens." The state NAACP president says he's not surprised that thousands of people showed up to peacefully march in downtown Pittsburgh. Kenneth Houston says his organization did not organize the rallies here in Pittsburgh or Philadelphia. He went on to say police brutality is not a black or white issue. It's a human issue, and it will only change when those in the majority do something about it.
I commend all the individuals that came out to protest, and particularly our white brothers and sisters who are saying, you know what, enough is enough of this foolishness. We're not putting up with this anymore.
Well, things also took a turn for the worse during the protest in Philadelphia. The demonstration started around City Hall, then moved its way onto a